Mr. Molinaro for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Secretary. The benefits of being a freshman is I get to sit so close to those witnesses that I feel as if we're having a private conversation. We're not. Yes, great. And so, Mr. Secretary, I want to jump right in. Without question, while I was not here, I think we can all acknowledge that the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act establishes a significant investment. In particular, I would say, representing a large area in New York State, gives us the needed investment that we so desperately need in the Northeast to make necessary improvements to highways, roads, and bridges. Without question, New Yorkers know and have seen the deterioration of our infrastructure. And yet at the core of IJA is this 5-year surface transportation reauthorization that funds those critical road, bridge, and transit projects. Now, we know this. I've lived through now 3 once-in-a-lifetime infrastructure bills over the course of my service in public office. We know that despite the fact that we are now in the 3rd year of IJA's implementation, projects are yet to come to fruition. In particular, I would say, in states like New York, because of added bureaucracy. What specifically is the department doing to move those projects? And I would note specifically to move New York to move those projects so that we see the benefit on the ground.
Well, both as a current secretary and as a former mayor, nothing's more gratifying to me than a groundbreaking with the possible exception of a ribbon cutting. We want to get dirt flying, we want to get projects done, and we also need to do it responsibly. Now, our first year was spent just getting the bill passed, and our second year was spent largely making sure that these programs, many of them multi-billion-dollar programs didn't even exist before, were stood up properly. What that means is we think we're on a good footing now as we go into the 3rd year of the administration or as we enter the 3rd year of the bill and the 4th year of the administration, that we're really seeing the money moving and the dirt flying.
Do you feel, though, Mr. Secretary, do you think projects are moving adequately in the state of New York because both the contractors, the municipalities, and local officials just don't believe they are? And I'm not saying it's entirely DOT's issue. It is in part pressing the state to move projects. Do you feel they're moving adequately in the state?
Look, I think all of our project sponsors are doing a great job with limited resources.
You think the state of New York's doing a great job?
Time. Yeah, we're getting terrific things done with the state of New York, but we always want to move faster. We want our project sponsors to move faster, and we want our own gears of government machinery to move faster. That's why we're trying to make sure we simplify categorical exclusions, which is 95% of our permitting. It's why we're doing technical assistance when we have, I know New York State or New York City is large and sophisticated, but you got smaller communities in New York State that are going to need.
I represent upstate, 11 counties upstate New York.
So a lot of those players aren't going to have, full-time federal relations people on staff. We don't want them to have to swiftly navigate our processes. We're keeping our foot on the accelerator and looking actively for ways we can strip out unnecessary stuff.
Okay, so I want to just jump to another issue, and my office stands ready to assist, and I know that the delegation, Republican and Democrat, want to move projects quicker. As you know, the Americans with Disabilities Act was passed in 1990. There was a 20-year time frame for intercity rail stations to be accessible for those with disabilities. As of July 2023, Amtrak has only brought 30% of their 385 stations it's responsible for into ADA compliance. Yet, we continue to fund Amtrak's investment to move ADA projects. In fact, IJA itself included an additional $1.74 billion. Can you commit to the department to more aggressively enforcing Amtrak's necessity to meet the ADA requirements?
We strongly believe in ADA compliance.
I understand, but what can we do to move
Well, the biggest thing we do is through the ASAP, at least on the transit side, is through the ASAP program. And with Amtrak, we want to work with them to, I'm not going to say we're going to prevent a necessary safety or maintenance enhancement from happening because we're concerned about ADA compliance. But I agree it's got to be a both and we want to do everything we can to be helpful.
I'll take you at your word, and I appreciate that. I will say that it is a remarkable embarrassment that we continue to send taxpayer dollars to Amtrak for the purposes of ADA compliance, and yet they have historically and continuously not met that obligation. And I would just say there are countless Americans who are denied access because of Amtrak's failure. Yet, during the pandemic and post pandemic, Amtrak saw it in its infinite wisdom to divvy up significant bonuses to its executive leadership team while employees were left home and those with disabilities were left on the sidelines. My time is up. I would like to work with the department to ensure that we force Amtrak to meet that expectation.
Understood.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.